Hello, guys. Welcome to Divine and Conquer's ReRoll podcast,
Hello.
where we're gonna talk about nerdy stuff as we do per usual.
It's our lifeblood, bro.
Yeah, it's our lifeblood to discuss nerdy things and do the nerdy things. Well, welcome to this fine Monday. As our topic of conversation is what got us into tabletop RPGs or role playing games in general. But we're gonna, well, at least the questions that I have submitted to us in our little private chat is gears more towards the tabletop experience. Because I know there's other RPGs that people do that they do, and to go real quick, here on chat for tonight we have Legiz, which would be my voice. We have Jeremiah.
That's me.
Oh no, nice,
That's me.
Right up in the air.
We have a Vic,
Heyo.
and we have a Dickie.
Greetings and salutations.
So, as per usual, before we get into the topic for tonight, since we have a whole bunch of people here, well, we also have from Horde of the Dragon Queen. Do we have any questions or any topics that we want to discuss about the previous 2 weeks of gaming?
I really don't.
I can come up with a couple, but yeah.
You can.
Sure. Let's gear towards I guess Horde. Hey, do you think that our characters are well equipped to fight a adult white dragon and a couple of cloud giants, or are we all just gonna die?
You probably forgot that you have an actual bird with a samurai sword going to the clouds.
Yes, you do.
So
Yeah, you're pretty balanced.
Okay.
You have birder eye.
Apologize. We have a birder. We're balanced.
Okay.
No white dragon can tame us.
I'm gonna just I'm gonna just say that a little peek behind the DM screen, if you will.
Okay.
So basically for Horde of the Dragon Queen, the encounters that I have set up for you essentially are already kind of balanced for a level, like for essentially the level that you guys are right now. So it should be balanced for that, but I should also take some creativity, creativity, if you will, to depending on what kind of experience that everybody's looking for, or
Yeah,
if
for
I
sure.
maybe there's
you need to take.
when you have a yes.
You also need to take account that bird eye ratio on rolling nat 20.
Oh my God.
His ratio of rolling crits is disgusting. And I love it.
Jeremiah, I don't
I don't understand it. to
Yeah,
tell you the truth.
Okay, we have 2 clerics, we have a druid, we have 8 panthers, we have a polar bear, we have
That's true.
Birder Eye's son.
Yes.
Our the panther ratio in our campaign is pretty high.
You have a high level Eldritch Knight with anxiety. You guys are
I don't know if that's gonna aid us though.
he hardly aids. It's okay. He's just there for story.
I mean, he's a strong boy. he's a
Oh my
very
God.
strong boy.
Man, once we're done with this, I'm gonna show you his stats. You're gonna be like, dude, what the fuck?
If I can guess, let's see if I can guess.
Yeah.
I think he has +4 to strength,
Possibly.
+3 con. We'll say +3 dex as well. I don't think that he has high charisma, but I want to say he has a 13 to 15. And then the other stats are pretty much... No, he's an Eldritch Knight, so he has a +3 intelligence as well.
To be honest with you, I
look
don't.
at his character sheet real quick.
Just because of family, just because of his dad, the other one anyway. I don't think he has +3.
You don't think he has what?
Well, because of his family, I don't
Yeah.
think he has +3 dex.
Oh,
You're
I
kinda
mean...
Close.
You are right, Jeremiah. His father... God, bless that man's legs that don't work ever.
Yeah, I'd say you're close-ish.
All right.
You definitely have the dex down for sure.
Okay. I mean,
Devgate totally has a +3 on his dex.
Totally.
totally. Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Totally does. That's you really nailed that one.
Maybe it's a -3.
I don't know. Depends on which dad he takes after, I guess.
I say he's kind of rounded in the middle.
All right, that's cool. I like that description.
Then
Yeah.
let's just say it's a 0.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I'm excited to go into a Cloud Giant territory. I really am excited to see how this branches into the second book.
Dude, I am so excited for Rise of Tiamat because when I initially started this campaign with a casual group, we only got as far as we barely got to the first episode of Rise of Tiamat, and I was like so excited. Like I had so much stuff planned for it.
Oh, really?
It gets really, really meaty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how we're going to face off against the highest to-hit creature, if you can call it that. It's a god in the entire book. Tiamat has the most attacks out of all creatures.
Hey man, we have a bird with a sword.
Yes.
That is okay. Cool. Yeah, I keep forgetting we have Birderite. That balances everything.
And if Jeremiah reads the notes on his sword, he knows.
Yes.
Yeah.
With Burger Rice ratio.
I am so excited.
I'm excited.
I know. I'm over here like, holy shit, what have I done? With how often you hit nat 20s as Birderai, it's disgusting.
It's crazy. So crazy.
What have I done?
My other characters don't do that. Like, why can't
No.
Birderai just share some other
Birderai's
characters?
not allowed.
You know,
Birderai is...
you share on by other
Birderai-
characters too.
Birderai was just born with a crit, I feel. Just popped out of his egg on a natural crit.
Yeah. He's
Oh,
trying
man.
he's trying to hit the shell. Roll that d20, not 20.
Just,
Yeah, you just
flies
busted out that and you started
Flies
flying.
out of the egg like a missile.
Oh man, yeah. I am so excited and I cannot wait. I'm
very excited. And with the kind of with the direction that the story is going, that you are all leaving for me. I have some fun things planned for everybody in Rise of Tiamat. I have plans, I say as I
Yay.
speak with my fingers.
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. So for our Sacred World game.
Yeah.
That last fight.
That was a lot quicker than I expected.
Yeah, I agree. That was a couple of crits, really high level attacks that were aimed at one person. Braum killing the statue really helped you guys out a lot, because as soon as that animated statue of himself was going to flank, that would have been.
Oh yeah, that would have been the thing.
Braum said, "Let me show you the superior construct."
And
yeah, that's true.
Get that shit out of here.
Ariel's bombardment attack was pretty well timed.
Every time Zephyr Strike happens, I'm just like,
Yeah, he timed his attack very carefully and well. The thing is, when Ariel hit, that was over 90 points of damage. I mean, that's a lot of damage, but that's also how much damage it took to bring it down. So that was really calculated. It's just below bloody to be able to do that.
Mhm.
If he was a little bit lower, he would have just drank his potion or healed himself, and the fight would have been longer. It was just that well placed mid-range fight with that really high attack. That was the key. That was good. And when I was looking at his stats, like maybe I should put like a blade barrier instead of a flame barrier. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think the roll versus the like static effect might have been a little bit more damaging, but I mean, yeah, it was a it was a good fight. I did not anticipate the two deaths that we had. Arwell got critted on, and he just
Dude,
could
that
not
made me
bounce
so
back.
sad. Why
And-
can't we keep rogues in the Underdark, man?
I don't know. And in addition, Laz, because our little house rule, if as long as it takes within one round, so like before the start of the NPC's turn, you can't do things like Revivify. But because the
Yeah.
silent spell was still placed there, she couldn't.
Nah, that was bad.
Yeah, it's just the roll of the dice and where the spells were laid and casted. It's just
Yep.
those spells really took a lot into effect of how the game was going to mechanically play out, and that is what it is.
Who needs magic systems?
Other people. Magic's
What?
pretty cool. I like magic.
It's just like magic's for cowards.
Sure.
As he slings his 2 whole spells.
And when I mean the it's pretty obvious that you guys were making a lot of noise and people were going in and out of the tower and the tower was activating defending. So there's I don't think it's a leap of assumption to say that that at least the fire giant knew something was up inside his own tower. So casting Death Ward on himself at the beginning of the day was I have not seen Colton be so mad in a game. Just his face is like, "Excuse me, what did you just say?" Yeah, he's back.
How
He's
dare
back
you.
at this much HP, which
Enemies
wasn't
aren't
a
allowed to use
lot.
health potions. How
Yeah.
dare you?
Yeah, which wasn't. He was like at 48 or something like that. Which, like, you guys took him out in 2 rounds because his it was 1v7. Like, of course, you guys were gonna finish him off, and the well placed effect, the specifically how Orc Death killed him or did the last attack triggered something, which is like, oh my, because it has to be specific to the lore. I'm like, that was great. And I am excited to see what's going to happen next. Because Orc Axe leveled up, as you can say.
Yeah, it did level up.
Yeah, so, yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm pretty excited. I am much excited.
That's really exciting.
Yeah. So. If we have no further questions about specifically our game and just want to leave it as that, we'll catch up in like 4 days. See what happens next.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, the topic of conversation for today. I'm gonna move this over here so it's easier for me to read it. I don't have to like twist my head. So the topic of conversation is what got us into role playing games specifically. So let's open up that question. So what got you guys into RPGs?
I would say it's certainly in the family. Familial influence might have happened somewhere.
I kind of feel like that's both of you guys, you and Jeremiah, right?
Wait,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, actually, I got mine from within as well, if you will, from the family, basically.
The family.
Because I believe Dickie got you into the game, Vic, and then Jeremiah, your mom got you into the game, or is that wrong?
It's not that my mom got me into playing D&D. It's more of I saw her playing, but I wasn't really interested in it until I saw some friends playing it. Basically, so I was like, "Hey, my mom played that. Let me kind of try that."
Like, what
Sort
did
of
your
thing.
mom play? Like with her friends, or like?
Yeah, she was playing with her friends, but that was when she was in high school. I just saw her like her minis, and stuff like that.
Oh,
I didn't
oh,
really see her play. What she what she really taught me was Magic.
yeah, Magic the Gathering. That's a
Yes,
good game
that's
to
the one
learn.
that I got from her. Really,
All
the
right.
but at the same time, it's just we're just family.
Y'all still gotta get Jeremiah's mom to play Magic with y'all.
We should. I'm down for that.
Wipe the board with you all.
When after the Backstreet Boys reunion tour,
Yeah.
we'll have a guest night of a Jeremiah and his mom and watch her like freaking school us and be like,
Like,
here's
back in my
my
day,
back in my day, dark ritual was this. No, please, ma'am, no, have mercy on us. Dickie, what got you into not necessarily just like D&D, but like role playing in general, like what role playing games? I know that he was transitioning from phone to laptop, so
oh,
we might need to give him a little bit of time for that
no.
transition. Well, while we wait,
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
oh,
There you
yes, yeah, we
Hello?
go.
Hello?
We hear you. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Didn't know the earphones had a mute button on there.
Oh, yeah. That's annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, it was during the 70s, and this was the time when I was playing basketball professionally, and then I was going to school, played college basketball. Then I got out of college basketball and joined a fraternity, and I was just kind of saving my basketball for the summers. But during the school year, I was still basically a jock because I was in the murals. I was just into sports.
Yeah.
And a lot of our fraternity brothers were playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I was just kind of like, well, I don't understand that, so I don't want to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of kept it at arm's length, and I didn't really get involved in it until probably I'd say maybe about 2 or 3 years later. I got an apartment. My roommate played D&D with my brother, who was a game master, and they decided they're going to play in our apartment, and I didn't have nothing to do, so they rolled me up a character, and I got into playing it, and I was blown away, just because it was something that I needed at that time. It was a challenge. I was needing a challenge, and it was basically a challenge that was challenging my insight, my instinct, my thoughts, just basically, I guess, if you put it in a way that, we're all basically come from caveman per se, and we used to live in those times, our ancestors and stuff like that, and there's still some primordial things inside us that was inside them that sometimes we need to satisfy.
Sure.
And I believe this is what was the satisfaction that I was needing, because once I got into it, I said, this is so cool. I like this. This is something that, I can think on my feet. It's challenging. It was different. So I fell for it at that point. So after that, then I got to be more of a game master, but I wouldn't touch Dungeons and Dragons because it was too much information for me to absorb and stuff like that. So I kind of picked up other games and got everybody started playing on that.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. What was your first RPG? Do you remember?
I do. He's a halfling thief named Copolis. No, I take that back. It wasn't him. He was the second one. It was a guy that was a human fighter.
Okay.
I'll never forget his name. It was Coctus Erectus.
Oh man.
I love it.
like that
I do
name.
love
I
it.
love that name.
He was a fighter, and he also was seducing the queen. So he was kind of the queen's little toy on the side. The king found out about it, And so he kind of sent somebody along to kind of take care of him. And eventually he was killed in the back, being slashed in the back. And a friend in the group took his body, resurrected him, and he changed his name to Zubar, the Knight of Valuna, and changed his appearance and everything.
Okay.
So he went back to the same kingdom he was working for, but as a different identity.
Gotcha.
So
I enjoy the name for sure.
yep.
Long live Cactus Erectus.
Cactus Erectus. I got into D&D just essentially because of the Lord of the Rings movies. I was always into art, just drawings. Essentially, was like when I first discovered the internet, the only thing I would do was make folders of like animes that I liked with cartoons. Just like, oh, here's my Goku folder of all these like people that draw Goku, and
I'm so
and, like,
glad we did the same thing.
oh really? That's weird. And so when it like that led into like just different Google searches and different artists and like looking up artists, like what other things they drew before I really knew what like a deviant art was, etc. And then my friend, because I was really into metal and punk, and so like especially when you're moving a lot and moving into like the woodlands, a very high class and more proper way of
Affluent.
yeah, right. And so like there wasn't any metalheads, and like it took me 2 years before I had like a real friend, and it's because he was a long-haired hippie kid who liked listening to bands that I like listening to, and like so we bonded over that. And one day he brought a Player's Handbook. I'm like, "What's that? The art is really cool." And he's like, "Oh, it's D&D." And he explained it like Lord of the Rings. And he's like, "Yeah, kind of. That's but it's all in your head." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And so he let me borrow the Player's Handbook, and I read that thing front and back, and I was like, I don't know what I just read, but it sounds cool. And then like we went out and got my first set of dice, got my first mini, and the only reason why I got my mini is because I had 2 daggers, and I just wanted my character to have 2 daggers. I knew nothing about the person, and I just looked at the halfling like, well, I'll be that. I'll be Lita. I think was like the character that was drawn, like the halfling rogue, and then the more I read on rogues, like I don't want to be that. I want to be sillier, and so the only reason why is because in the original 3.5 Player's Handbook there is a character traits thing, and we were very before backgrounds were a thing. Where like the rule of the table was sometimes you're born with things that you don't decide. Like you might just be a whistler, or you might have been born with a missing finger, or different things. Like this will help you identify what your character would be. And I got fat, and I was like, a fat halfling doesn't sound fun, but a fat gnome sounds fun. So thus created Doomby, the overweight, chubby, really tight leathered gnome who weighed only 40 pounds, but he was a thick boy for his gnomish kin. And like when we played D&D, the first session was very stereotypical. You either started in jail cell or you started in a tavern, right? So we started in jail. No equipment, no armor, nothing. And it was for whatever reason, it was just you're in jail. Like I didn't even know what a backstory was. I didn't have a backstory. I just knew I was a thief, and I was really quick with my daggers. That's it. And I don't think really anybody else had backstories because they recycled characters a lot. Like our friend Greg, he was going to be the human wizard. That's what he is, or he's going to be a gnome bard. Those are the only 2 races. Our friend AJ, he's a dwarven cleric. That's it. The other person, because I took his class as rogue, I think he was a fighter because he was always a rogue, and so I was brought into the group, and now I'm always a rogue. So like I was just like, well, what's happening? This is kind of boring. Until the DM describes how I found a couple of bones and with those bones, use them as makeshift thieves' tools and broke in, and I broke out of my cell, and I was like, "What? I did that? Whoa!" Back in those younger days.
In the theater of the mind. Right.
Exactly, and it was like I've never knew I could have the pictures in my head. Like that was addicting. So
as the vapors grew thicker and thicker around the table.
Yeah. Right. So that's what got me hooked, and I was like, cool. And I got stuck as the dungeon master because work got too much, and I couldn't make it to the game, so I had to quit. Mm-hmm. And then, but I really wanted to play D&D, so I'm like, I'll play it, but it has to be at my terms, my time, my location. And then pretty much the same group of friends are like, okay, cool. And then we had like every Friday and every Saturday we all alternate DMs, and that's how it was for the longest time. Back in the days where there were 7-hour games and 1-hour lunch break. And
man.
People would spend the night every Friday. That was like the thing to do because I was off Fridays. It was pretty cool.
So awesome.
I believe, Jeremiah, your first character was Carabao, right? Or is that incorrect?
What?
Yes.
No. Yes. Bringing it back, basically, Carabao was my first character. The one that I brought into Divine and Conquer is just basically a refresher, because I haven't really played Dungeons and Dragons. When I got to the US, basically, I was fresh out of high school. Then I went from the Philippines to the US, and I don't know no one. So I don't have any party members. I don't have friends. It was basically like a new world for me. So yeah, Carabao was a character that I was playing back in high school. Then that was actually the very first one, and the one that I really liked. That's why I brought it back to Divide and Conquer, and wanted to retire apparently. But but yeah, Carabao is I've always liked. I just always liked being that guy that just tells everything. Even when I do play, even when I play RPG video game, when I play video games, that's how I create my character.
That's so
funny. When there's an option to create a character, basically Skyrim or Dragon Age, I was playing that character stealthy and
Jeremiah,
with a bow and arrow.
Jeremiah, I think we were meant to be bros, because you are like Skyrim and like other video games, you would always pick the stealth rogue option. Every time I'd play a video game, I would look for the character that hits the hardest and click that one.
It's going to transition to that question.
I would always play the tank.
Was like Vic, what was your first character before I asked that?
Oh man, my first character. So I didn't actually play Dungeons and Dragons until like in the days of 3.5. I was in college. Because I feel like Dungeons and Dragons was something I always kind of wanted to play, but I never had friends.
Yeah.
And I was always afraid to ask people to do anything with me. And also because I was never allowed to go outside.
It happens.
So it's one of those situations. So essentially, I didn't play it until community college when I was sitting down in between classes, and I just saw some people that I happened to know. I went to high school with them, and they were just hanging around the area, and I saw them pulling out dice and paper, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh, we're gonna play Dungeons and Dragons. You want to play? And I'm like, yes.
Yes, please.
And so we basically did I guess you can call them speed runs, because it would always be in between our classes. So it'd be if we had an hour lunch, we would sit down, we would play a quick little game, and then we would just pick up and go to class and then come back for our next break. And so I ended up, I didn't know what I was doing at that point. I was aware of all the tabletop stuff. I would always hang out with my dad whenever, I think one of my clearest memories is whenever we would take my brother to swim practice or something, or somewhere. I remember it being at a pool, and he pulled out this file box, and it had all of these character sheets, and I just grabbed one and I just started drawing on it, and I was like, I'm gonna make a character in this little window here. And And that was like my experience playing with like an old school character sheet, and then they handed me this new one, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, so I just wrote my name on top of it, and so I was just playing myself, and I just happened to have a sword,
Okay.
and I was cool.
And what she was talking about was that that was the D&D that I was running for my students in the morning. So basically, after school, that's when I get everything all set up, update it, and then you prepare it for the next day.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
It's basically your first character, Vic with a sword.
Yeah, Vic with a sword. That was exactly what it was. Yeah, that's who they were. It was just me with the sword, and I remember we had a session where we were going through a canyon. It was me. I played a fighter because that was like the easiest thing for me to read really quickly and understand.
Yeah.
So otherwise, I have to sit down with the book for several hours and be like, I don't understand what's happening. But we were in a canyon. We were riding our cart through. I was the fighter. We had a wizard, cleric. I think that was it. That was all we had. And then, like,
wizards and clerics are a pretty deadly force.
Our wizard was drunk 24/7.
Apparently, a wizard cleric was found on the web. Thank you, phone. Don't listen to my conversation, please.
Yeah. So, so that was his character flaw. He was like always drunk. And our cleric was like really obsessed with cats. Like he loved cats. And so we were traveling through, and then a gargoyle just like flies down to attack us, and you know, I think my sword wasn't magical. I remember that. So every time I'd hit it, it would just not hit as hard. But then I managed to like I think crit on it like right at the end, and then that's when the DM described like this really cool thing where I like jumped on its back and I like used my sword and like with the leverage of it like holding the blade under its neck, I like decapitated it, and I was like, oh shit, that's so cool.
That's really cool.
I want more.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that was my official first experience with D&D, and then for the longest time, like that group kind of pittered out and they went their separate directions, and I kind of wanted to scratch that itch, and like I didn't know how, so I joined theater, and I was like, theater will help because that's role playing, right?
Theater.
I can make friends that way. Theater. Yeah. Like in like it's like my life kind of aligned in a way that it would fit for D&D because like I would always be drawing art and characters, and I was always coming up with stories in my head. Yeah. I didn't have any friends, so they were just my stories that I was like just constantly writing, and from there. I started hanging out with people, and then I discovered RPG forums, and I started doing like role playing stuff online and with casual friends and et cetera, et cetera. And then theater happened, and it kind of like, and then there was like a period for the longest time where I wanted to play D&D very badly, but I didn't have any friends, and I was like, I want to play a game. I have these books. I tried to get my sister to sit and play it with her friends, and that didn't last very long. That was actually when I got Tabitha introduced into Dungeons and Dragons, because I was like, I want to dungeon master a game, but nobody wants to sit down for it. Will you please play with me?
Aww. That's cool.
So she's like, okay, how do I do this? And then I like showed her how to roll a character, and that's when she made her first character, which was actually a warlock, a tiefling warlock.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Her name was Priasal, and she was like a blood mage, essentially. Like she was like doing like the blood curse magic and all that cool stuff.
Nice.
And
sucked at what she did.
I mean, it was funny because like you were drawing up your character, and you're like, what is like the most metal, most darkest class I could have? And I was like, that one. She's like, yes.
I'm glad
that a warlock.
You know,
like,
and then it comes full fuck.
I know. I'm like, you know, I should say something, but I just feel like it came full circle for you.
Yeah, like look at. Oh, I mean, all right, yeah.
Like your first tiefling.
Known as the white man.
No, I'm saying that your first tiefling was like this super dark, like edgy kind of like blood mage warlock, and then now you have Cole, who's a whole 12-year-old with a book, and he's a nerd, and that's adorable. It's a.
And this is very adorable. Would you guys say that you're I mean, you guys, same here. In RPGs, I tend to like pick something related to like video games or whatever, closer to pretty much Doomby. I'm going to be a small in stature, quick kind of goofy looking, if I can, individual, and if I can have two daggers, I'll have two daggers. That's my go-to thing. Do you guys think that you tend to play those characters in like RPGs as well? Like I have to, for me, I always want to. Like, bro, I was so like inches away from being a rogue in your campaign, but I had to say no. That's why I'm very glad that when Tabitha did her one shot, I was like, I can be a small thief. Yay!
Because the tiniest thief.
I was the tiniest little thief with the squarest of jaws. That's usually what I want to play.
Thank you.
But I have to try to tell myself, no, be something different. And I've noticed lately, that's why, and even with Fox, is like, I'm a broody animal lover. I'm a barbarian who likes to wrestle with the bears and hang out with the birds. I mean, in all sense purposes, like I think if you just plucked Fox out of his druid and just threw him in as barbarian, you would not notice a difference other than the shape shifting.
Yeah, I remember that conversation happening at one point, and I was like, you can, like that seems totally fitting.
Yeah, and it's I think this interpretation of Fox is like, no, he misses his old friends. Summoning them faster and stronger will probably be a more suiting thing for him than not. That was the mentality anyway.
Right. Okay.
But yeah. All right. So like go branching off that, I've also noticed that with some, with like other like Critical Role, like those streamers, that Travis will play the big strong man like Grog and Half-Orc, like they're if
Thor is not big in any sense.
that's just because he rolled bad, but it
I
was
know.
a stereotypically strong individual.
Yeah.
Even though, like Sam says that he doesn't want to be the center of attention, kind of like his Bard was when he made a rogue, he's still the comedic relief. He's going to be a comedic relief. Like what's his Liam. Even though his rogue and his wizard are completely different in almost every sense of the way, he role plays both of them as, I'm going to step away from the group. Am I even worthy enough to be part of this group?
Yeah, that's true.
So like I think that those things kind of come out, like no matter what we're playing, they stand out unless you're intentionally trying not to be that person. Like you're intentionally like going for a specific thing, like, oh, I'm never the center of attention and I want to be the center of attention. I want to talk more. Like you're forcing a different character, which isn't good nor bad. It's just, it is what it is. We tend to, I think, gravitate to our strengths, even if we intentionally say we're not like Sam did or whatnot. We kind of,
Me personally, I feel like it's, we have our own stories that we're trying to tell, and so we just, whenever we're making a character, we kind of tend to be reflecting our own self into that character.
Yeah.
Like depending on what side of yourself. Yes, Dad.
I kind of disagree with it. I think when we're writing the story of the character, we're pretty much letting the dice and the situations play it out.
Mm-hmm.
We pretty much go in the direction of the way the game is going to kind of decide what our characters are going to be like.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's a way to do it. I know, like it's mostly speaking from my own experience in the sense of whenever I'm creating a character, it's like you put a little bit of something into that character to kind of bring it to life, and then they'll just kind of like take it and run whichever direction.
Yep.
Like you taking your own experiences, putting it into a little character, and then they just run off and they eventually grow into their own, which I always think is just an absolutely fascinating thing. Like I'll be sitting there writing up stuff for a story. Like, for example, I'll be writing for the Alistair comic, and I'll be sitting there, and I'm like, West, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I'm trying to like get him to go a certain direction. West is like, no, I want to do this, and I'm like, okay, West, go do that. Let's see where that takes you.
There is that moment in I think all of us, in no matter what game we're playing, as long as it's a role playing game, that where we say, I want to do this, but
But my
the
character wants to do
the
that.
character. Will they do that?
Yes.
And then the dice will tell you, well, you did or you didn't do it.
Exactly.
And I think also is that kind of depending on the group that's together working. Like the group I was with my brother and stuff like that, he would run the Dungeons and Dragons, and then he kind of look at me and goes, "I'm tired. Can you pick something up?" So then I'd pick up one of my games, and we would play that. So basically, everybody gets to change their genre, create new characters. They can handle them the same way they did their other character. They could change it and be something totally different. It's always that change of pace that kind of made it fresh and made it more exciting for everybody to go with.
Yeah, because I guess with me as well, as the divide and conquers nutcase, me Jeremiah playing 3 games a week.
Our resident
Yeah.
is badass for playing 3 games a week.
Yeah.
Like basically, I have to kind of change my personality. At the same time, I kind of see my own personality going into fruition with these each characters. So here's the thing. Birderai is supposed to be this serious, noble samurai, but for some reason he became this nutcase of a bird that just says "paw" all the time and caws at 6 a.m. He wasn't supposed to be like that.
Conviction. He has
He wasn't.
conviction.
He wasn't supposed to be like that, and he just because of like a certain band listen to that I listened to, it just turned to that,
Yeah.
and then with Leon on the Harry Potter game, he's my first initial thought of him, he was supposed to be in a way kind of like what's his name, Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
That was
I got that vibe.
that was my inspiration for creating that character, was Indiana Jones. But and then he just turned into something else because of what the dice tells me. And every time I roll, oh, this is what's going on, and this is what's starting to come into fruition as I played the game, and then he just became a fairy godfather.
Yeah, I
He's
I really
just
do love that.
He's just into his fairies a little too much.
Leon, do we need to talk to someone?
And then with Ragnar, he's, to tell the truth, I tried with Jesus' little role on like, okay, my old character died, Carabao, and he's this rogue with his little rule of pick a different class, a different race.
Yeah,
it's
I like
let me,
for campaign changes, like
yeah.
try something different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Basically, Ragnar was my very first melee character, RPG D&D wise. Even in video games, I'm always that person that's in the back lines shooting.
yeah,
Either
Hunter
it could
or
be
Raj?
magic, either it could be magic or a bow and arrow or a gun, a sniper rifle, whatever. I've always been that when I play a game, TTRPG or a video game. That's me. So
Yeah, for Ragnar was a good character.
when I created Ragnar, I was more into, let me get out of my comfort zone and play a melee.
yeah.
So I did,
I remember the struggle.
and then I did play and I'm enjoying him a lot. I'm enjoying just going in there and just try
Wrecking
to hit
shop.
me. Me and my small stature of a dwarf with a mechanical construct on my side. Let's fight, bitch. Look, I'm kind of enjoying that. And then basically Birderai happens because he's a pure melee. Birderai is my first just martial character with no magic. And I'm enjoying it because I don't have to do anything. It's like, oh, what do you want to do? Go over here, attack.
I cannot imagine the personality whiplash you go through playing 3 different characters a week.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the day that he cracks and he's like, and then puts all 3 characters into one.
Oh dear God.
That's gonna
Yeah,
be
no. Yeah, I remember when I first created West, he was supposed to be this kind of, because I wanted to play into the whole the fact that he's actually not a stupid barbarian, so I was going to try to play him as like this mysterious kind of like broody lone wolf. And I tried for 5 seconds. And then he's like, I'm going to go over here and look at this funky little elf, and now we're best friends. Thank you. I'm like, thank you, West. So literally from like literally day one, West just is doing whatever the fuck he wants to do, and I'm just along for the ride. So, and I have I asked one of the bros in the Alistair server if they wanted to share their history playing RPG games, and I just got a submission just now. If you want me to read it,
Sure, yeah, please.
All right, so
that'd be lovely.
Yes, this is from our friend Cold Crusader. I call him Jason. So, and I will be reading.
Do you call him Jason because that's his real name?
His real name is Jason.
He goes
by, his handle is Cold Crusader. Sometimes he's known as Professor Socks. Depends on the day.
Forever, he will be the professor to me, Professor Socks.
So Professor Socks. Okay, so like way back when I was but a lad, pre-beard Jason, as he says, I inadvertently gotten into this entire hobby, tabletop RPG, wargaming, board games, through my little sister. Due to circumstances, I was always dragged to go to my younger sister's dance class, so I had to either wait inside and stare at the wall out of sheer boredom and fall asleep in whatever chair I was in. And then eventually one day, a new store opens up next door, like literally next door. The area was like part strip mall, kind of like with its location. So like you walk in, and you see in order Quiznos, Chinese restaurant, dance studio, and then a newly opened tabletop game store. So the young lad I was then walked in one day and met the owner, and he showed me everything like any other 9-year-old. Dragons are cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I spent as much time as I could there learning, playing board games, and now fast forward to 10 years after I graduate high school, and my friend Jordan introduces me to the good old Dark Heresy, and I get actually into the tabletop, I actually get into tabletop games, while at the same time my best friend Johnny gets me into tabletop wargaming. The game in question is called War Machine and Hordes, where I made myself a reputation among... Yeah.
Yes. I remember when that hit the shelves.
Amongst that group, actually. I was the one who always gave you a fun game. And then fast forward a couple of years after that, I met all of y'all bros on Discord. And he apologizes for it taking so long to get that story to me, because he's currently in combat right now playing Pathfinder. So.
Oh my god. Please don't die for submitting.
He showed me a picture. I see. Okay, I'm looking at the picture he sent me. So there's a giant mantis on the board, a unicorn, and a hydra. So I'm interested to know where that's going.
Oh my god, that is
right?
For him to write while his interest is still in the game. Impressive.
Yeah, I know he helped me actually write the stats for Birderized Sword. So he's like, he loves all the mechanics for everything like tabletop game wise. And following along on his Dark Heresy stream has been a trip and a half.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
He plays a rogue who's essentially a time traveler, and his story is that he found out that he's actually a clone of the BBEG.
Oh, okay.
Yes. As you can guess, Redden is handling it very well.
Yeah.
Which is not at all.
Oh, man. All right.
Of all the tragic backstories for a rogue to have, I mean...
Yeah, because rogues tend to have tragic backstories, another fond rogue that I had, when our DM at the time was like, yeah, you can read, any, as long as it's printed in a book, That's fine. We're not like specifically playing the Eberron campaign or Greyhawk or Forgotten Realms, so like there's different interpretations of the same race. I'm like, okay, cool. So I found the Whisper Gnome, which I believe is an Eberron gnome. Which these gnomes are not happy-go-lucky magic users. These are cold-blooded assassins that, if depending on the DM, you can interpret them having a racial +8 bonus to stealth. Like this,
Oh my god!
you like this gnome could literally have a 10 in dexterity and have a +8, like already with nothing like a common gnome of this race, and so I became that, and I was like, but I don't like the dark gritty gnome that they are, so I made I made two different versions with the Whisper Gnome. One was a character named Fast, who was essentially he was a rave dancer in a circus, and I intentionally like placed all these colorful scarves and like pieces of clothing, so anytime that I attacked, it's just a rainbow of colors would be blurring who I was, but he. And then I had another rogue who was like the grim, dark, happy-go-lucky one, but he was also a Whisper Gnome, and I think I took Shadow Blade, so like I can manipulate and mold into shadows, and like I did necrotic damage with my shadows.
That's
So
amazing.
it's I both love and hate the idea of the grim, dark backstory rogue. So I made a really, really happy one, and then I made a really, 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 really messed up dark one who secretly liked to torture people, but he played it off as happy when no one looked.
Hey, he's having fun. That's what matters, right?
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah, as long as you're not hurting anyone, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah. So, going off of story times here and etc. Getting into this hobby, into storytelling, essentially, just so getting together with a bunch of people and telling the story of a character you just made up. Is there anything that you would like to tell new people going in, getting into this community? Just anything in general.
Huh. Trying to think what to say. I mean, other than I would say don't let one group or another sway you on how you think it's supposed to be. It basically, if you're gonna play like ask yourself what you want out of a game, and from there, just have fun. I would say.
Yeah,
Figure out what your level of fun is, and then find that group that helps you have that fun. So that way you can really optimize your tabletop experience and not have to deal with D&D horror stories.
Yeah.
More or less.
And I branching off of that.
Yeah.
I would definitely say that not every table with every single one of your friends is always going to work out, and will have. It's happened in many ways, and I can go into stories in a minute, but it's better because this is a game that your friendship lasts longer than the game. If you are constantly arguing in game, maybe you shouldn't play the game together, and that might save your relationship. I've had a friend who was really not careful, and especially in dungeons, and one dungeon, because of I think he was like a scout or something, and he took a feat to like double his movement or something. Like you could if it times 5 his speed. And the dude, because like we drew it on the that one thing where like as soon as you see it you can't unsee it, so like maps drawing them I switched to drawing each room at a time. With 7-hour games, you can do that, but not not at our stream. That's why I kind of have a little cover so you guys don't see everything. But back in those days, I just drew the entire thing on the board, and he's like, "Okay, cool, I'm gonna go in this path," and like he ran, quote unquote, the entire dungeon, and I was like, "Bro, what? Like that's what I'm doing." And I was like, "Okay, you set off this trap, you set off this trap, you set off this trap," and like. He's like, yeah, no, I'm not playing this game anymore. I quit. And I was like, what? What's happening? This isn't for me. I'm gonna be an asshole, and I'm not gonna take this seriously. So I'll just leave. And I was like, that is the most mature thing you've ever said. Cool. Thank you for teaching me this lesson that like you can step away to preserve a friendship. Because he knew he was gonna get mad. He knew I was getting mad because he was not taking the game quote unquote seriously. And like, oh yeah. That's cool. And like again, not every single group of friends is gonna be the same way. I have some friends who play D&D and probably play more than I have, and like I can't play one of your tables. Is from what I see on streams, is too serious. I wanna, and I for some private games that I played, it's like I've had to be like, oh, we're here to drink beer, eat food, and then role play on the side. The game isn't the most important thing. Right now, we're just having fun, and we're going to play with cosmic cubes that like change our race and sex, and that's the point of today's game. It's not to save the world from Tiamat. It's just we have a puzzle. I don't know, solve it. Do you have the stats for the puzzle? I'll make him up.
Oh my god.
Which like that's totally okay. That's fine. That's how that game is played. That's how that table is played. And sometimes mismatching those two things doesn't work, which is okay. So that would be like my advice to people coming in. Like sometimes the table is not the right table for you. Go find a new table, and you're not going to hurt anyone's feelings. Trust me, you're not. And if you do hurt someone's feelings because you're in a new table and they don't respect your privacy and your decision and your personal choice, then maybe that friendship wasn't that strong.
Yeah. I agree with that.
But that's just me.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, because like thinking back on it, like especially with my first experience DMing, like for a group, like for an actual group where we sat down to play more than one session, I remember that we began to reach points where the players would be arguing with each other because there would always be that problem player that's like, well, I want to do it like this, and the other players are like, but you can't do it like that. He's like, well, I want to be an asshole right now, and so there would just be fights that would be breaking out, and I'm like, okay, this isn't fun.
Yeah, I've had a DM who just like did not like me, but was in a relationship with the person who did like me in the group, and they're just 100% after me and trying to kill me, and or intentionally writing situations where like I was not there for like when it's a 7-hour game and I quote unquote am still asleep, or I'm in a different boat, or I'm in a different mission. Like, cool. Why am I here? Find a new table.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah. But yeah, Jeremiah, Dickie, what do you guys have? If you could, if someone came to you and was like, I'm super into role-playing games, what could I expect? What would you tell them?
I would just tell them basically that, that it's a game that you use your imagination, but you have to understand it's not a TV show. It's not your TV show where you're always successful in doing everything.
Yeah.
You might figure something out, but you never know how it's going to work out because you got to roll the dice, and we're all prisoners to the dice. So I try to make sure first that, are you sure you want to get into this? Because, I hate for you to commit to something and then we accept you and then you turn around and say, well, no, I don't think I am. So, yeah, it's kind of a little short self-interview with them, you might say.
Oh, yeah.
To see what's inside their head and see how serious they are.
Yeah,
But
session
and then
zero.
ask them for their experience. What games have you played? What kind of characters have you had? And a lot of times, if they have never played the game before, probably the first 3 words out of their mouth is going to tell you right off the bat they don't know what the hell they're talking about. So,
Yeah, fair point. Jeremiah, do you have any words of advice to new
pearls
people?
of wisdom.
Yeah, these
Don't
pearls.
play multiple. Don't play multiple characters in a week. It makes me crazy, man.
This is Jeremiah's cry for help.
Multiple characters will create multiple personalities.
He's like, Jesus has me in the basement right now. Please call for help.
Blink twice
No,
if you're being abducted.
I had something. Basically just have fun with it. Like let the character let the character that you're playing be them. Like don't be like oh, I wanna create this character because he's gonna be the strongest thing. This is gonna make a lot of damage for this character. Like just let the world let the world of the D&D revolve around you and just embrace it. Don't basically what the TTRPG people say, don't meta the game.
Yeah. Oh, and
Embrace
say,
the game.
yeah, what's up, Dad?
One thing I made sure whenever I try to get these role-playing games started off at school, I tried in other schools before I could successfully get it off the ground. And the first thing I would lecture to the kids is you have to understand, this is not you. This is your character.
Yeah.
You're playing somebody else. You're not playing yourself. Okay, you might do the thinking for them. You might have, ambition for them, stuff like that. But it's not you. It's a character. And, because whenever they start thinking of themselves, that's when the arguments start happening between them. Because now it's a personal thing instead of, hey, let's just play a game and have some fun.
Yeah, keep whatever happens at the table, it's kept at the table. Don't bring that
exactly
that mess.
Yeah.
I did have an encounter.
Please and thank you.
One more time, sorry.
No, I said please and thank you.
Oh, yeah. I remember that one time I played a drow, and I told the DM like, well, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be a very heavy thinky drow boy, and I'm gonna be an evil character. Are you okay with that? And they're like, yeah, sure. By the end of the very short games, like 4 games in, because another player played an elf who coincidentally hated drow, so what does the first chance in session 4 that he could, we were playing a Pathfinder game, that he could try to kill me flat out. He was an alchemist and he threw all his bombs at me, plus he devised a trap, everything, and I was successful. I'm like, all right, well, I'm disappearing. I was a high dex fighter with a bow. So I bounced and I disappeared and I stalked him for days and days and days, and then eventually I killed the elf, and then the other people are like, well, you killed one of our party members, so I guess we'll have to kill you. I'm like, he tried to kill me. Like, if you strike at me, I will do the same to you guys. So I killed another party member. I trapped and left the one to starve to death. And then one of the players was like, yeah, this isn't fun. I'm like, nope, you're absolutely right. I completely went against the party. I was being a dick. You are absolutely right, because I want to save face and I want to be your friends. My guy's gone. I'm backing out. The DM should have probably stepped in my opinion, looking back at it. Hindsight.
Yeah, I feel like that should have been a DM call.
But at the same time, also, that's why I have if you in my little tidbit house rules, if you're acting against a party, that's when I pull your character out. I'm like, no. We're a team here. Doesn't mean that your character doesn't exist. Your person is still this drow who hunts elves, now is a villain in the game. that maybe will redeem themselves, and maybe there will be an arc, and you guys will become friends, and then you can play him again. But not right now. I'm not gonna let you unknowingly hurt your friend. And like that group fell completely apart. We never played again because I was that one jerk that did that at that one point in time. And not that anyone like holds it against me. We're all still friends, and we meet up and we like hang out before the Backstreet Boys reunion tour. But we don't sit down and play D&D because of that one bad experience. And we all like, that's why that phrase is said, keep it at the table. I'm not attacking you. And like, I never took what that dude did to me personally and like, oh, you bombarded me because you hate me. No, that's your character. But
yeah, I agree. There's a fine line between your character and you. Like whatever is happening to your character is happening to your character. Unless somebody's actually specifically trying to be an asshole at the table. But 9 times out of 10, it's what's happening to your character and not happening to you. There's a clear separation, and sometimes people do forget that, like, because people are all looking for something different at the table.
Yeah, you get emotionally involved. Yeah. You love this person. Yeah. You spent thousands of hours pretending to be them and interacting. Right. You feel that when you get hurt, you feel it.
But you got to understand too that role playing games and D&D is not for everyone. Some people are just not going to get it. Yeah. And because they don't get it, they get frustrated. And when they get frustrated, they kind of lash out or play under their own rules. Yeah. And instead of just being mature about it and just stepping back saying, hey, I'll finish the session, then I'm gone. I can't do this anymore.
Yep.
I'd rather you tell me that. But for people during the game that thinking they want to play it and halfway through it thinking like, well, you know what, maybe not.
That's actually a really good point. That if I could tell people that are getting into it, a second thing is, it is okay and 100 times better to just say, I'm not playing this game anymore. It's not for me. Than to not say anything and then you don't show up, or you text 3 hours after the game has started like, I'm gonna miss today. And which, like, I understand, things happen, flat tire, you get sick, whatever, that's totally okay. But like, I because I've DM for such a long time, I have run the string of every single person of every possible lie, and I can almost start sniffing it like, oh, they're not gonna show up anymore. When it's like, it's, and then when you talk to them, like, are you so interested in the game? No, I'm 100% interested in the game. Cool. Are you going to play next week? No, I can't. I have blah, blah, blah. Or here's the other excuse. Or no, I'll show up. Day of game. Are you going to show up? No. Like, it's kinder, to be honest, to the dungeon master or the game master to let them know that you're not going to be part of the game. And that's why
planning everything.
One more time?
No, I was saying,
for some people, being honest is hard.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that too.
It which I get. It's there is, in my opinion, this stigma in our culture that as an example, hey, are you coming to the party? If you say no, it's because you hate them, or you're sick, or there's a secret motive. Like, no, I just don't want to go. Well, like, why don't you want to go? Because I don't want to. I'm like, I don't have to give you an excuse. If I just don't want to do something, or I don't feel that I want to go to a party or something, I don't have to go. And I think that try not to offend somebody, because taking it personally boils into that somehow in our like common day way of interacting with people. But it's way better if you just tell me I'm not going to show up. I think that's going to help every dungeon master, game master out there when someone tells them I'm not showing up. It's just it's so much better. And it could be one of those things where, like, I have a new job and I don't know when I'll be able to play again. Cool. now that we talked about it, opening that communication, you're a temporary character. You'll be here in and out. And like at common tables, it's really easy because I've done it before where it's like, so and so isn't here. Oh, what happened? We'll just we'll pretend that he's just not here. And then when they come back next week, oh yeah, your half orc was totally part of the fight. He knows exactly what happened. That's so simple. Like our show's a little bit different because
Continuity and yada.
exactly, yeah. But at a private table, it's just sometimes a lot easier just to be like, all right, your elf is plucked out of the game until your schedule is free, and then whenever you can come back and commit to whatever the agreement is, we'll put them back. Or they're totally okay with just someone playing their character if they have to leave early because of class or whatever. I don't know. I wish I've been in that place where like it's cool and like, oh, this bro has, if the game runs past 4 p.m., he needs to go to school. So, or to his class, sorry, and we just pass the character around.
It just reminds me of like that reminds me of the gamers where it's like, the one guy that was like his character was always there and he was just standing and staring at nothing until he like shows up like for 5 minutes, clears the room, and then it's just back to just being idle. Dude,
don't forget his catchphrase. Oh yeah, blood and vengeance. Yeah. Oh, The Gamers is such a great movie. I love The Gamers. Please go watch it. If the Dead Gentleman's production, the movie's free. It's out there. They put it on YouTube. They're like, yeah, everybody should watch it. If you like it enough and want to buy a copy, here's our link. We don't care. They're
enjoy a movie
bros.
for the sake of enjoying a movie.
Yeah, I have seen other people re-upload their movie onto their YouTube channels and try to monetize them, and because they're a production company. They're like, hey, just give us credit. Just send them to like the website or tell them who wrote the movie or who produced the movie. That's all. That's all we ask. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of you. Awesome. But yeah. All right. Moving on to the next questions, which I believe our answers like yeah, no. Especially seeing onto like the Gamers and Mazes and Monsters and previous conversations we had about like old stigmas. Are you guys surprised of the plethora of individuals that play Dungeons and Dragons or role-playing games in general? I keep going to Dungeons and Dragons because it's like the one that I play the most, but just in general, RPGs. Because when one of my friends Devin came back from the Marine Corps, like there was a platoon of people that played games. There is a jock team that's like the smallest person in that group weighs like 250 pounds. Like they're all huge dudes that just play D&D. There's several drag queens that the whole group is just made up of drag queens, and they go and tour and do D&D, celeb D&D. Like it's just
yeah.
Like I guess like when did you get into D&D? Did you like have a mindset of what D&D was? Because like when I first got into D&D, again because when I moved cities from Houston back here to the Woodlands, every single person was a metalhead. So I thought, oh, power metal, Luca Torelli, and Demons and Wizards, and Camelot, and Rhapsody of Fire. Oh, okay, they all like power metal. They like dragons. They read books.
Dragon Force.
Don't talk to me about Dragon Force. Okay? We don't talk about that band.
We don't talk about Dragon Force. Okay.
We don't talk about them.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Get that shit out of here. Get that out of here. Now, Blind Guardian or
Dragon Force. What?
Or Dragon Force.
Jeremiah, I will take your drumsticks away from you. You do not say those words to me.
Hey, Jeremiah, what's your favorite Dragon Force song?
I will hurt all of you.
The only Dragon Force song I know, Through the Fireplace.
Yes, that's fair.
You mean the song that was intentionally sped up because the performers could not play their own music? What? So,
What?
what? I didn't say anything.
It's
So like
funny
when I got
sometime.
into D&D, I was like, oh, it's only this. And then like I started going to conventions and started like hanging out with cosplay people and like, oh, it's like a really nerdy thing. I got into like Big Eye Small Mouth and into Anima and like GURPS and the Fudge system and other games here and there in Warhammer, and it was like, you know, you are socially like I tended to be the charismatic one in the group, which I don't think I am at all. I just don't know when to shut up. And there was a pick of like a how the people will get it. There's that stereotype of the cleric's always one of the dude's girlfriends because they needed a cleric, and she's like, I guess I'm here. Which was like one of my first relationships. That's kind of what it was. And she's like, no. After a couple games, I'm a sorcerer. Let me change these stats. I'm like, oh, cool. You actually like that game. So when you guys started, was there like that stigma of like, oh, only nerdy kids get to play? Like, or I think Dickie's was probably different because you said it was a whole bunch of athletes that got you into the game.
Well, actually, they weren't athletes; they were non-athletes.
Oh.
Dad was on
They
the
were-
opposite end of the spectrum.
They were
Yeah.
basically,
He was the enemy team.
putting it bluntly, they're a bunch of stoners more than anything. But no, I mean, you asked the question, am I surprised now the way things going or finding out people are getting involved in it, stuff like that. Back when I did it, it was still kind of, you don't exactly brag about that you're playing it. You just kind of keep it low key and under the table. And I think with social media and the explosion that it's had, now people are saying, hey, it's okay to come out of the closet and say, hey, yeah, I'm a D&D or yeah, I'm an RPG or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's a great thing. I sent it to you guys by Fandom, that reporter that was kind of doing, she didn't know anything about D&D and she's trying to find out about it, and interviewed all these people and really had a great story in the back line. Also talked about mazes and monsters and the satanic panic and stuff like that. And it was very informative. It said basically right around early 2000s, that's when it just started to pick up speed and just wouldn't stop. And then when social media jumped in, it was a train that you couldn't stop. It was unstoppable then.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it was like a tsunami of gaming that everybody thought, and the funny thing is everybody was kind of had a D&D curiosity about it. And I think once it got out to where it was acceptable in society, then they all said, well, hey, I really want to try this. Hey, I want to go after this, And I think also helps is that a lot of actors and celebrities that are coming out saying they play it, they're people thinking, well, this is just the coolest thing in the world ever, So.
Yeah, because it's there is I never know about that, but yeah, with the explosion of social media, like all you need to play any role playing game is communication in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I was actually I didn't know that there was like typing communication, like RPGs, where like you would send in your paragraph into some forum, Discord or whatever, and like you guys would tell the story that way. And with Facebook and Skype and all these things where you can communicate with people, you can just play all these games throughout the world and explore your imagination and help that grow.
Yeah, that's essentially where I got my start with like role playing as a whole, and basically through that experience, and then getting reintroduced into D&D and actually playing it like with a really awesome group of people, I was able to sit down and actually make, in a sense, a forum for people to come in and just idly role play their characters, which is a thing we have on the Discord right now.
Yeah.
And
I actively sat there and just built a tavern from the ground up for everybody to be like, hey, you can bring your D&D character in here, you can roll some dice, you can hang out and just do whatever.
And I think she hit the nail on the head that basically the success of a game has to depend on the people that are around you. If you got people that nurture it, people that are positive about it, people are interested in it, then it can grow on somebody to get into the game.
Yeah.
If you got somebody that's negative, that doesn't know what they're doing, that acts like they know what they're doing and won't listen to reason or stuff like that, that could really turn a lot of people off. And they say, well, hey, I tried it. No thanks. I don't want to do this because this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you I think like with nowadays we're kind of limited because of the tour, but if something like in person doesn't flow right, or like specifically your group of friends, and you're really into it, you can always hit up forums or always go like on Roll20. There's specific like, oh, I'm looking for a group, and just play that way. I know that if I were to only judge D&D based on the experiences I've had at store games, where it's just we have a sign-up sheet, you play with whoever. Almost all my bad stories are from playing D&D at stores. I 100% believe it's a complete coincidence, but with the technology of social media and how everything spreads so easily, it's so easy to find a group, to find a table that fits you. If you love the game but not the interaction of the people, I would highly suggest going other forums and just trying out new things. Because there is something and I
think a lot of you would agree with this, is that the game will bring a shy person out of their shell.
Yeah.
It will cause a person to grow inside to where they would have more confidence in themselves, and therefore have more confidence being around the people that they're with.
Yeah, I agree. There is something magical about the RPGs that lets you explore something, lets you finally give you the courage of being like, I'm not comfortable in my own skin. Playing these characters helps me become comfortable in my skin, and now that will push me into saying, no, this is who I am. I'm not hiding behind the shell of what society wants me to be. It boosts your confidence. You killing that goblin makes you feel like, oh my god, I did that. Gives you that boost to stand up to the bully, or finally give that speech in communication 101 that you have to take for your career. Or just say, hey, mom and dad, I'm this. I think it's a very powerful tool, and I know that there's for like kids with like severe autism or even things such as like dyslexia, they have found that theater of the mind, talking, communication, problem solving, group work, all these tools are excellent to help people get out of a funk or be happy with who they are. And I wouldn't say the word addicting, but I think that's the powerful thing about RPGs that brings so many people together. It's because it is not you, but it is you. When we tell these stories, it's I climbed that mountain. Remember when we defeated the vampire? You don't get that with video games or music or a movie. When you watch a movie, Frodo delivered the ring. When you play a video game, Link defeated Ganondorf. Mario saved the princess. It's not you. And some games that are very powerful, like the third-person perspective of like Legend of Zelda or games that like Left 4 Dead, that it's only your hands. Those put you in there, and they're certainly they have an appeal to it. But it's the linear story of I didn't choose to fight this monster. I wanted to talk to that guy. I thought he was kind of cool. I don't like that the game made me do that. With RPGs, you do have that choice. You do have the choice of saying, it might not go the way you planned, but you have the choice of, I wanted to talk to somebody. maybe help us that one person say, I don't have to solve things with my fists. I can discuss it if I'm angry. Seeing that, like, I going back to one of our games when not Xavier when our boy was slapped by his grandma, and Grayson's like, that is my son, don't you ever touch him. Like, that's a very real moment that is amazing, and like maybe that gives that person the strength to be like, kind of exaggerating the situation a bit, but like maybe gives people like the strength that they need, like, because that's something that happens in their life, that like don't harm the person I love. Maybe I know that that dealing with like I've done this in the past with because I've dealt with suicide a lot, and I've had characters that I literally, like, all I want them to do is just die, and like living through that in some odd way helped me be like, oh, okay, I'm this is a real thing. I can talk about this. Because even to this day, you say that to somebody like, oh, you're obviously extremely depressed and you hated life. I'm like, no, it's just there's a weird fucking thing in my head that's like, maybe you should just do it because you suck. And it's like, that's a completely different topic. But these games can help with a lot of stuff. And it's a very powerful tool. It's amazing. And I'm so glad that it's not therapy. it's not, but
it's certainly cheaper than it, but it's not.
Yeah. It's great. And I'm trying to remember that meme that essentially it boils down to like every DM will eventually become the counselor of the group. You're just gonna hear everyone's problem. Like it's a warning for you dungeon masters, that might be a thing for you. But yeah, branching off, moving away from that topic.
Well, one thing I want to add, that you were kind of talking about how, separating us from the characters and stuff like that. I think we really have the best of two worlds in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Case in point, like our character, we can make the decisions for the character, but we have to roll the dice, and yet our decision is based on that dice. So we have to rely a little bit on luck in order for us to do something. But on the other hand, it's coming up with something creative. Case in point, Orc Death and the Hill Giant.
God.
I didn't have to do. I got lucky on a couple of rolls, but the plan worked out perfectly, and it feels good to me that I was able to think something through and able to be successful at it.
Yeah.
And I think people start realizing that, once they can have an idea and execute the idea with some luck of some rolls and stuff like that, that's a rush. Yeah, that's a big rush for coming in the game, that you can do something like that.
Yeah, to feel successful for essentially doing something that you feel that you put a lot of thought into. That's always a good feeling.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There was
I thought that West's genius response to a water elemental was to get a shit ton of flour was a good idea.
It's not that it wasn't a bad idea. It's just that it was a huge sized creature.
No, I know. I felt really proud of that, honestly.
You guys did your absolute best. I will give you that.
That was a scary experience.
Yeah, it kind of flooded the sewers and caused the entire city to flood. But whatever, that's different. But
yeah.
No, the Joe Manganiello, I know he started doing D&D for Make-A-Wish foundations, and like started like DMing kids who
in Pittsburgh, in the Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and he learned on the interview like oh, like cool, thank you for doing this. But he like a message that was like amazing that he came out of this was saying that these kids are told no a lot because of their situation, and when you give them, like you were saying, Dickie, when you give them an outlet and you said your creativity, yes, yes to your creativity, your plan. Maybe the dice didn't agree or did agree, but you had a plan, you executed it, you thought about this, you problem solved, and yes. And that is
And
a
in
very powerful thing.
and in that situation, your creativity nullified your handicap, nullified your illness,
Yeah.
nullified your disease,
Yeah.
because for that one instant, you were just like anybody else.
Yeah, it's a very good.
Yeah.
I cannot be happier with how this game affects people. It there's a lot of positivity behind it. So, uh, question.
Yes.
I'm sure you can all guess what mine is, but role playing in general. What is it? What is your favorite system that you guys have? Not that you've so many years of playing. What would you say your favorite system of playing is?
What do you mean?
Like what type of a game? Like a Star Wars Saga or D&D or Pathfinder or
Well, I'll be honest
so,
with you. The only game I've ever played was Dungeons and Dragons as a player. Now I have game mastered numerous games
um,
like Gamma World, Villains Vigilantes, Top Secret, Boot Hill, Star Frontiers.
I'm really excited for that Boot Hill game whenever it happens. Just letting you
Yeah,
know.
I'm currently playing in the game of guys running in Australia where we're a cavalry in a town full of zombies, which is
Oh my
interesting.
god,
That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a little off, a little interesting, but it worked out. But
Yeah.
you know, I like all systems that are different because like the surprise game that we are been talking about and planning in the future is completely different
Yes,
as
it
far
is.
as rules, as far as roles and things like that. And I mean, I'm watching videos on YouTube, catching up. I'm cramming. It's like studying for college,
Yeah, it
learning all
feels
the
like that
systems.
sometimes.
I've been in contact with the game creator and stuff like that, and other people that help me out whenever I have a question. So I think when you have variety, it creates inspiration that you can do things differently.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I agree.
Mhm.
So other than Dungeons and Dragons being absolutely perfect and there's nothing wrong with it, no, not at all. No. There's a I no there's D&D has a lot of limitations, but that's why individual tables exist, and that's why the first page of the book's like house rules. Do it. If you don't like it, change the rule.
Rules are just suggestions sometimes.
One more time.
I said sometimes rules are just suggestions.
Yeah, they're just suggestions. Yeah. Right.
as they said in Pirates of the Caribbean, they're more like guidelines.
Yes.
Guidelines.
More like guidelines. Yeah. Completely. Yeah. Oh, it's a good movie. I do love pirates. Yes.
would you like a follow up on this Hydra fight?
Huh?
Yeah. What's up? What's happening with the fight?
Okay, so it only lasted 4 rounds
Okay.
because both Jason, who is the paladin in the group, and they have a barbarian. They both Pathfinder has this feat called Titan Wrestler,
Uh-huh.
so it allows them to grapple large creatures. So again, it only lasted 4 rounds.
Why not? Yeah. Monkey grip was an improved monkey grip are the silliest feats ever. You are literally an anime character if you can carry a sword 3 times your size. It's
That's amazing.
yeah. Yeah. So, the last question that I have, I guess, which I'm pretty sure we've already answered, but essentially, it's why do you think people should play RPG games? Which confidence, giving them that exploration, that creativity, letting them be who they want to be, assisting people on just being comfortable in their own skin, like just spreading love, positivity, like those are trying new things, being the hero of your own story. I don't. I imagination. There's just the list goes on in my head. But what about you guys? And I think Dickie kind of triggered a crap ton of ideas. But what about you two? What are your thoughts on that subject? Should people play D&D? Why should they play D&D? Why should they play RPGs? Why should they play Bessem? Why should they play Gamma World?
I think. Go ahead, Jermaine.
Basically, I think it was already said. It's a good outlet for the real world. It's like
An escape.
sometimes, yeah, an escape. It's an escape. It's basically, yeah. I guess that's what I was looking for because English.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you should curse.
Uh, it's a good escape to the real world.
Mhm.
Maybe you're just stressed out from work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that going on at work. There's a lot of stuff going on in your personal life. Maybe you just don't want to deal with it at the moment. And there's a game that's gonna happen that same day. It was like, you know what? Let me turn off my life for a little bit, put it on standby, and let's go play D&D. It's a good buffer
Mhm.
so that you're not killing yourself with stress, basically.
Yeah.
I think I would change
Then
one
again-
thing that you said, Jesus, that you said,
Mhm.
why should people play? I would change that to why should people try? They should try it. At
Yeah.
least try it to see if there's going to be an interest to play it.
Okay.
Because not everybody, you can't force everybody to the table, but I think
Sure.
you can entice the curiosity of them to step up and give it a shot.
Yeah.
At work, I played role playing game. I played the villains and vigilantes at work, and it worked pretty good for a while. But we had so many turnover of people, it was hard to keep. And our assistant manager, she was really getting into it. She's like 50 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and so she follows us on Friday night, Sacred World, stuff like that. And
Oh, that's awesome.
she said the only thing I didn't like about the game, it was too slow. It just didn't move fast enough. And I said, you need to be at the table. Then you need to go play with us. So, but it's basically people have to try it to like it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, this is that part of the night where like I'm running out of things. It's getting
Out
that
of
to that
words.
point. The words are we've said, we've done what we came here to do and say.
We saw and we conquered.
Yeah, we came conquered.
Yes, we divide and
Divined it and we conquered it.
Oh my
We're
god.
just gonna ask Divine herself to come here. No, I would not want that. She would chaotically destroy the world. Divine does not need more platforms for her to speak.
Oh my
She
god.
is the sassiest drag queen that I've ever seen. But with that, if there's no last minute thoughts, pausing for a second to give people time to say words. If not, I would like to thank every single one of you guys that are here listening to us chit chat about the games that we like playing, that we will continue playing.
Yeah, thank you to
and,
everyone that is listening, and thank you to everybody that will listen.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope we enticed some people.
Oh yeah. If at least one person listens to this podcast and like, I will try those games. I'll try one of those.
Or at least follow us on Twitch. 'Cause that way you can
that
learn.
would be the greatest thing. Follow us on Twitch, and then you get to see the closest thing to what the game would be, because you can't be there in person. So it's the next best thing. Enjoy our story as it progresses. It's I guarantee you it's going to be more plot twists and turns than Game of Thrones, because
We'll certainly handle it a little better.
more plot twist than M. Night Shyamalan.
yeah, and much more. But all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. But we'll still have links to support the Black Lives Matter situation. We'll still have links to our friends to support local art. And something that I learned at our merch store, we do have their non-medical. That's a very important thing to state.
we do
but
have-
we
we do
do
have-
have face masks. If whatever reason you want that DNC logo on your face as you're going in for
Looks really good.
yeah, the Sea Devils one looks so amazing.
Or maybe you just want to hideous laughter somebody and call them chicken wing
Chicken wing.
That's
in your mouth.
that's incredibly. Oh my god, that's great. I love that idea. Oh yeah. So yeah, the merch info's down below. The links to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund for the Black Girls Code and for Campaign Zero to end the systematic violence that's happening right now and racial profiling that's happening. So still fighting the good cause. Still be safe.
Yes.
Because God, words, that's for a different thing. Not right now. All right, we'll edit this video, put it on YouTube in a week or so. This is an important thing. For the podcast that would be held on August 3rd, we're going to have the promotion for the Alistair one shot. So we will not have a podcast that day, but we'll continue on regularly. So it'll be Horde of Dragon Queen game, Alistair one shot game, and then Horde of Dragon Queen, and then podcast. So we'll just substitute that one podcast for the Alistair one shot because it comes out that day. But other than that, everything else is good. So, all right. Thank you guys. Adios. Please be safe. Please take care.
Bye.
Peace out.
Night.